Okay, good afternoon, F1 fans from around the world. It's championship number 4 for Max Verstappen, and that's our opening theme.
MV4, MV4,
Yeah.
MV4. Oh, quite lovely.
Yes, yes.
All right, Afandi, what are your thoughts on the race? What are your comments about a beautiful weekend
It was a
in Vegas?
fantastic weekend. The one that really makes me happy is George Russell's victory. You know, I,
Yes,
I predicted that because he finished qualifying so well, and that was down to his ability to stay composed under pressure. You know, his
yes,
decisive call to be last out during qualifying. At the end of the day, he would look back at that decision as what really propelled him to this victory. You know, he
yep.
maximized the track conditions. He is maturing as a driver. You know, his race management, strategy execution, and tire preservation, all these factors
Fantastic,
came together
fantastic.
in a
Hmm.
brilliant, in a very brilliant race. And it's
Yeah,
kudos to him because he has qualified pole in the past and messed it all up. But this time he defended his position very, very well, you know, and
yeah.
he was really consistent
No
throughout
mistakes,
the race.
and he mad. And I'm going to say so. Hamilton, congratulations for coming second and having a fantastic race. Now it's clear to me that right now Hamilton still has better racecraft than Russell and better race pace, but his decline is with qualifiers and one lap. And we see that he makes mistakes when it comes to qualifiers because a qualifier is a test of pure pace. I think Russell has more pure speed than Verstappen, not Verstappen than Hamilton. And what
Hamilton, yeah.
happens is that Hamilton's style of driving, they've shown on the telemetry, when Hamilton wants to warm up his tires, he's very jerky on them and he controls the car. That's the old style of driving. He
Of
brakes
course.
late and hard, and that style of driving doesn't work anymore. You have to drive. Now they're saying you have to drive at 90% within the car because the cars are so volatile. So modern day Formula One or contemporary Formula One now is about being able to tame some very volatile cars or being able to work with them. They almost have to tame you. But
Oh, sure.
Hamilton has always been the person who wants to tame and control the car. But for race pace, he doesn't have to worry about that because when in a race, you don't have to like go all out. What you do is you nurse the tires, you have craft and you have other things. So I think Hamilton hasn't lost his much of his race pace, but he's lost his overall pure speed, which we see in qualifiers. Now I want to go to this thing. Hamilton's a little bit like Lando Norris. They always take these sideways passive aggressive statements. Hamilton say, "Well, everybody knows that if I had qualified P1, I would be on the number one on the podium today. So it doesn't matter. What makes you a great driver is when you have an opportunity to maximize your weekend, you do it. He didn't. He made a mistake in Q3. Now, if he hadn't made that mistake, he might have won, but we'll never know. But my thing is that making the excuse that he's basically saying that I'm the best, but it's only because I didn't I'm better than Russell, but it's because of my qualifying. Let's look at it. This is a total game. Right now, Russell is better than Hamilton overall
Of course.
because
Of
he
course.
has a complete weekend. You have to have a complete weekend. You
Of
can't
course.
falter anytime during the week. Russell is also more aggressive. I remember when Hamilton went off for soft tires when he didn't want to, and Russell refused and made them give him soft tires. Russell refused to box early in that race where he won off of one tire stop, but he was suspended because of being too light. At and then when you look at Brazil, Russell told these guys, "I don't want to box," but they made him box. So it seems like Russell makes better strategic decisions and handles pressure better than Hamilton. Now that being said, I think Hamilton has a chance of winning the championship next year, as well as Leclerc and Verstappen and Lando Norris. I think it's an even tie. So it's not all as bad for Hamilton. What do you think?
I think it was a combination of both. You
Yeah.
mentioned his driving style, which is somehow different. He's not as adaptive as the modern day driver now because the onboard analysis showed that he made errors that was born out of overdriving. Like you said, there are very fine margins. These cars are very volatile when you overdrive sometimes. And then the fact that he took a safer two-stop approach instead of making a gamble on a one-stop strategy to win shows why I think he finished second. Not because,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's why
Yeah,
I
and
feel he
we're
finished
talking
second.
about the other race back in the day where Russell went out. Russell has courage and is brave, and this weekend we crowned George Russell. What I mean by crown him, Hamilton's leaving. George Russell is the leader of that team, and
Sure,
if I were Toto
absolutely.
Wolff, I would put a lot of energy into him.
They should be
Antonelli's too young.
investing in George Russell.
Antonelli's too young. When Verstappen first came to F1. He was 17, 18. Verstappen didn't go directly to Red Bull. He was in a junior team before that. And we know how good Verstappen is. So I think they're throwing these guys like Lawson and Antonelli into these cars too soon. They need to start off with a smaller team. Lawson needs to spend a year next year with Red Bull too, with as with Tsunoda's team. Well, that's a
Because
story
he's
for
not
another day,
ready.
though.
He's just not ready.
He's not ready. He's not ready. And they're talking about him driving beside Verstappen next year. Well, whatever. What's his name wants to do? Toto, no, not Toto. Horny Horner. Yeah, whatever he wants to do, he'll do. Okay, so yeah, so that was the story of the weekend. Very beautiful. Sainz coming second. Sainz has proven this year that he's the best Ferrari driver, and it is a big shame that he'll be with Williams. Sainz came in P3, probably would have won the race if it had been a warm track.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Afolabi?
I agree with you. Signs, I think tire deg. He had issues with tire deg, and it was evident. I feel that was one of the reasons that really affected him. And their strategy management, especially in terms of tire management, is one area they need to look at. And then if you look at Leclerc, he attempted to attack Verstappen somewhere around the outside. It was a bit over
Nobody
ambitious.
passes Verstappen from the outside. Yeah, go ahead.
Exactly. So, and then his early pit stop alongside Norris, placed them in unnecessary traffic. And I think that compromised their
No,
performance.
no,
But I was
I'm telling you
impressed
the
with
truth.
Sainz.
Yeah.
I was
Uh,
impressed with
uh,
Sainz, but prior there,
Leclerc is
I think,
okay. Leclerc has more talent than just about any driver, and he's okay, but he doesn't have racecraft. He's erratic. I'm not talking bad about him because this is one of the greatest drivers in the world. I'm just saying that relative to people like Hamilton and Verstappen and Alonso and these guys, Leclerc and also Sainz. Leclerc is volatile and erratic. He's a wild child. He's a genius. It's
yeah,
all or nothing with him, and he has a lot of work. And I think a shout out to a show called Lower Lap Time. What's the guy's name? I forgot his name. Australian with Italian roots. He
oh,
said
yeah,
that
yeah,
most of these coaches now need drive. Most of these drivers need coaches. They need coaches.
yeah,
Leclerc needs a coach. Hamilton needs a coach and a mental coach too. There's no disgrace in having a coach because a coach is sort of like a second
like a
eye for you,
mentor, like a
a mentor.
mentor.
And also, as a driver, you need someone like sometimes if I'm driving, if I want to change lanes, I'll say I follow me look to see if there's a blind spot.
Oh, sure,
These
sure,
mentors and coaches pick
sure.
up your blind spots and just remind you of the basics. That's all
Yeah,
they do.
sure,
They just
sure.
remind. Colapinto needs one as well. Okay, so this was a very beautiful race.
In a,
McLaren is done.
in a
Go
way,
ahead.
I'm
Go ahead.
happy is Hamilton that will be with Leclerc. Leclerc will keep him on his toes much more
Mhm.
than Carlos Sainz.
Yeah,
So I
it'll be
think it
interesting,
will
but it's a big shame that Sainz, after doing all this work with Ferrari and bringing them to the mantle, now he has to leave.
leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last thing I'm going to say, a lot of people are saying, hold on, I was eating apple. I put it inside of my wine, so I'll drink the wine with the apple. A lot of people are saying it's a mystery how Mercedes won. No, it's not a mystery. Mercedes always wins on cold tires. They won in Canada, Silverstone, and now here. When it's cold or raining, they do well. Russell came. Where did Russell come? Third in the rain in Brazil.
Yeah.
In
Even in
cold
Silver,
because
even in
Mercedes
Silverstone, it was
tires
Hamilton that
overheat.
won in
So in
Silverstone.
cold weather, it's perfect. And now the opposite is true of Ferrari. Ferrari takes a long time to warm up, which is why they struggled on this track in
In this track,
Vegas because it
yeah.
was very cold. So
Yeah.
that's all I have to say. That's the mystery. That's the only mystery, and it's been shown. We've identified the pattern. Ferrari does not do well on cold tracks. Mercedes does
Sure.
spectacularly.
Sure.
Any last thoughts on that point before we leave up, Falabi? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. The temperature was really a factor. And you said it even before the qualifying that the temperatures would affect would act in would give Mercedes advantage because of their overheating problems. And so it
Yeah.
proved in the qualifying and the final race. And it was a brilliant race, really. My problem with George Russell was in the past race, is either he crashes or he has problem with overheating. But this time around, he got everything spot on and it helped him to win the race because he has driven brilliantly in the past before. And those drives have not ended up in victories. But this time around, everything just
Yeah.
choreographed into
And I think this is
brilliant
his second
victories.
victory this year, and would have been his third
Yes,
if
it's
he
his
hadn't
second.
been
I
if he
think it's
hadn't
his
been
second.
suspended for being too light. He would have had 3 champ. And I keep
Yes, he
telling
would have
people,
had 3
George
champs.
Russell is
Yes.
there. He's
Yeah, he
there. He's
lost
at the
one
top
by
of the game.
default. He lost
Yeah,
one of
default.
his races by
Yeah.
default, yes.
Okay, so thank you very much. So Falabi, take us out, young man.
Okay, it's a fantastic show, and congratulations to Max, four-time champion. Now it's up to the constructors, and it's a tense fight between Ferrari and McLaren. It's off to Abu Dhabi, I think. That's the next Formula One Grand Prix to see what happens with constructors. I think they've cut down the gap to
Oh
24
yeah, the
points.
construction is the big race. This is the big
It's a big
competition
race.
now,
So I
and
think
that's
it's
what we're going to
24
focus
points
on.
now between
We're going to
Ferrari
focus on
and
that
McLaren.
and also starting on next week, Falabi, we're going to
Yeah.
start our Formula One history. We're going to look
Oh,
at the
yeah.
season with between Alonso and Hamilton when Hamilton first came into Formula One. We're going to start that on Tuesday. Thank you, Falabi. Take us out.
Okay, so it's a wonderful show from Mustafa and myself. Congrats once again to Max, and see you next time.
Thank you. Good night, sir.